Here we are with yet another leafy green. This is kale. So when you see it in the grocery store, bring it home. Before you wash it, you just take it out of the tie thing, and then this is a really easy way to get it off of that stalk that again is really hard to digest. So let's see if I can do this the first time. You just grab it from the end and then just hold your hand like this and just kind of pull. And it just pulls the leafy, more tender parts of the green right off the stalk. Then what I typically do is right after I put it in there, I just tear it apart. This stuff is pretty indestructible. Hold your hand like this, make a little bit of a circle between your thumb and your forefinger, and then just pull. Sometimes it works great, sometimes not as well, but let's try that again. If it doesn't come all the way up, then just pull it off or tear off the larger pieces there.
Cassie, it's time to clean up.
Here we go, let's try it one more time. This is kind of fun. Haha, like that. Okay, ready?
Yep.
This is what's left. As you can imagine, if you try to cook this or digest this, it's just really better left out of the pan. Again, here, this is why the salad spinner is so critical, because before we took the leaves off the stalks, we didn't wash it, but now we can wash it here with the kale and all just small pieces. I like to tear it into small pieces, so it's just easier to get a good bite without having a big leaf. Okay, so we're just gonna wash it, and then we'll be ready for cooking. So I'll typically rinse it out like 2 or 3 times. Just until it rinses clear. It might not rinse clear because of the green chlorophyll and all that that's being released from the kale, but just so long as it doesn't look like there's any dirt or anything still coming off the leaves. I'm just slicing some onion in preparation for one of my favorite dishes with kale. It's called greens pie. It's really pretty easy to make. And you can do it with kale. Actually, you could do it with a whole bunch of different greens. I have some collard greens left over, so I'm going to throw some collard greens in with the kale. And first I'm going to saute the onions in a little bit of olive oil. I'm just coarsely chopping some garlic. I'm going to throw that in with the onion. And then we're going to throw the curly kale in. So here we're adding the kale, just to the olive oil, garlic, and onion. And just like any other leafy green, like I said, this really cooks down. Once this is cooked, it's pretty much ready to serve. For the greens pie, what I would suggest doing is taking another bunch of the kale, taking it off the stalk, cleaning it, and adding it to this, and even adding some more greens, some collard greens and things like that. Then the only other thing that needs to be added is some feta cheese and some eggs. And you're essentially making like a breadless or crustless quiche with these greens. And it's really awesome. 1 bunch of kale. And you can see it really cooked down a lot. I added some sea salt. Again, it's just olive oil, garlic, onions, and you don't even have to add the onions if you don't want. You could just do garlic, olive oil, sea salt, and kale. Okay, so it's ready to serve like this if you'd like, as a nice side dish. And you could add some red hot pepper flakes, which I love, or some shredded cheese or grated cheese, and it's pretty much ready to serve.
All right, here I am tasting the kale with onions and garlic. Better be good.
Two thumbs up. 1 thumb up.
2 thumbs up if I could spare my other one. Gonna take a bite now with some Parmesan cheese on it. Nina claims it's good, so it better be good.
Good and good for you.
Delicious. 2 thumbs up.
this is actually one of the easiest leafy greens to work with. This is that lacinato, I think I'm saying it right, kale, and it's the flat kale. It's actually, the leaves are a little more tender than even the collard greens or the leafy curly leaf kale. So that's why I really like this, but it's not always that easy to find. So you don't have to cut out the center stalk. It's just not as thick. And I love using this for making kale chips because it's just really easy. They work really well. So I'll just cut perpendicular to the leaf or to the stalk, and then I'll just throw it in here because this is a pretty good size. This is a pretty good size for kale chips. You could also do more like a 2-inch piece rather than a 4-inch piece, but we'll do 2-inch for now. So I just throw it in there, and sometimes leaves aren't always that flat, but so this is just really easy. And again, I'm going to show you how to make kale chips. They're really, really tasty. They're fun to make. And you will see soon how much my kids love them. So if you want to get your kids eating some leafy greens, you might want to start with kale chips. My kids beg me to make these. Easy. Just takes a couple of minutes. Then we're going to wash them. Just put some olive oil and sea salt on them, and we're ready to cook. So we've already spun this so that the water's off the leaves, and then what I do from here, so we make kale chips, actually, hang on, I'm just gonna get some of that water out of there, and then I just put the kale chips right in there, or the kale right in there, and then, coming right back over, I'm gonna drizzle the little bit of olive oil onto the leaves, and some sea salt. You can also do some garlic powder if you'd like, and then just kind of toss it with your hands, making sure you get enough olive oil and salt on each leaf. And we are pretty close to having our kale chips. We just need to bake them now. That's probably the trickiest part of this whole thing, is just baking them so that you don't burn them. I preheated the oven to 350. And then from here, we're just gonna just grab a bunch of the kale chips, really easy. Spread them out a little bit and then pop them in the oven. Just sprinkle a little bit more sea salt on it, just depending on how much you put on before. Also a little bit of garlic powder. And then this is ready to go into the oven. Again, I preheated it to 350. We're gonna just kind of watch them closely and cook them for about 5 minutes and then peek at them. Sometimes I flip them, sometimes I don't. Let's just take a look in a few minutes. So here's the flat kale, and we're using it to make kale chips, and it's pretty close to being done. In this one, I don't even think you really need to flip it. You just want to watch it and make sure it doesn't get brown and overcooked. It's been in now about 5 minutes, so it needs a little bit more time. General rule is 5 to 10 minutes, but keep an eye on it. So here are the kale chips. They're ready to eat. Hey Dawson, Aiden, kale chips. Right here. They don't last long. As you can see, they are gone. So we'll use about 6 eggs. And this is in preparation for, again, one of my favorite things that I like to do with kale is I like to make a greens pie. You could also just take that curly leaf kale and add it to the sauteed onions and garlic, and add a little bit of sea salt, saute it up, and then serve it, and it would be great. So we'll show you that, but I'm also going to just take it one step further and show you how to do a greens pie. It's actually really awesome. It's one of my favorite things. My whole family loves it too. So I'm just preparing to make the greens pie, and I'm just greasing the pan here. So here what we have is the sauteed kale. We sauteed it in just olive oil and onions and garlic. And we also added in, actually we didn't add in collard green this time. So we have a combination of the curly kale and the flat kale. And we don't have as much greens as I thought we would because they really cook down. So probably what I would normally do if we weren't filming is I'd probably throw some more cooked collards in there and then we'd have more greens. But we're just gonna go with it the way it is now. And if you want this recipe and any of the other recipes that we showed you how to make today, we'll get that for you, or they'll be online. But see, I probably have a little bit more egg than I need, so I'm not going to use all of it. And I'm also going to add some feta cheese. So there's probably about 4 eggs in there, 2 bunches of kale, and maybe about a cup or so of the feta. So I'm just gonna toss that all together, and then we're gonna put it into the baking dish and bake it for about 45 minutes or so. Here we go. They cooked down so much. I expected to have more greens, but it's okay. I'm just gonna have it's gonna be just a little thinner than usual. Actually, it looks pretty good. And I'm gonna top it with some walnuts and some pine nuts, and then it'll be ready to bake. Take about a half a cup of walnuts and just, could chop them up or just kind of just crumble them up like that, just over the top. And you can add some pine nuts as well, and then again it's ready to bake. Okay, so we're ready to put it in the oven. Preheat it to 425 and then cook it in the oven for 35 to 45 minutes. It's gonna look a little bit darker than it does now when it's ready to come out. And just keep an eye on it, because depending on the thickness of the actual pie, how much greens you have in there, it might take a little longer or shorter to cook. So